My name is Sina Wipi. I am Tongan. I work as a community health liaison for Asian and Pacific Islander Obesity Prevention Alliance here in Los Angeles.
My name is Calvin Chang. My background is as an attorney, but I work for Empowering Pacific Islander Communities as their Director of Policy.
I think so. In my opinion, I think so. Only because it's not, we all don't go through the same, we all don't face the same issues or anything.
One of the two of the most common arguments that we've been hearing have been, one is that there's no funding. It would cost additional money to reprint survey forms to add an additional checkbox. That it would cost money to upgrade whatever computer system is used to tabulate the data, or to retrain people to make sure that they ask for whether or not the data being collected involves Native Swans and Pacific Islanders. So cost is one counter-argument. A second counter-argument has been they're simply not required to by law, and they feel that if they're in current compliance with the law, that's all they need to do. Even though right now there's OMB 15, Office of Management and Budget Directive number 15, which mandates that all federal agencies disaggregate their data to include a Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander category. That unfortunately doesn't have enforcement language written into it. So federal agencies see that directive as a recommendation instead, or that's how it's treated. And so agencies will vary based on how well they disaggregate their data. But the 2011 study that I mentioned earlier, it showed that a lot of the agencies are collecting disaggregated data, but not reporting back on it. At the state level, California Government Code 8310.5 requires disaggregation of data, but there's no enforcement language. So there's no punishment for the agencies who don't disaggregate. And so again, agencies will vary based on how well they disaggregate. So unfortunately, without enforcement language, it's very difficult to compel agencies to disaggregate for our communities. So that's the second counter argument, that there's no enforcement language. The third argument has been our community is so small that any data collected could potentially run into privacy issues. That the sample size would be so small that people looking at the data will be able to determine the individuals that were surveyed, which would violate federal privacy laws. But there are ways in which that data can be scrubbed of privacy information. And that's something that the Census Bureau has experience with. That's something that the Department of Health and Human Services has experience with. So to me, while that is one of the arguments, privacy, it's not a very compelling one.